So, another season of Dark on Netflix has come and presented itself. It's shorter than the last one, but that's perfectly fine, and I applaud one doing that rather than trying to stretch things out with filler episodes. There's no filler in this series, and it's just fantastic. And I always worry about something that really achieves great heights, and then, wait for the next one, and then, oh boy, are they going to drop the ball and ruin it? No, they didn't. And it's quite the continuation of what they established in the first series. And it's basically what you have here is a soap opera with the effects of time travel on it. But the performances are so good, and the intricacies of it just plays right in to where you're jerked around and you easily get lost quite a bit here and there. But it's quite the entertaining journey. It's very rich and raw in emotion. And the soap opera background fits perfectly in with the machinations of the time travel and the paradox that it has. Now, in the first season, of course, the paradox was, I guess, basically our main character here, which is Jonas. And to discover that his very existence is a paradox, because his father is actually a young boy that he knows in his own time who inadvertently ends up traveling back to the 80s and never returns to his own time, and so grows up, meets a girl, marries her, and produces a son, which is, yes, Jonas himself. But, there's a soap opera catch. Jonas is in love with this girl he knows, and turns out she's actually the sister of his father. Oh no, and boy, it just goes on and on and on and on from there. And it's all very well thought out. The work is clearly there. They didn't just flub things here and there. And even when the people begin to realize what's happened and they discover it, you find the credibility here in the second season of how they begin to accept that this bizarre, fantastic thing has happened. They still don't understand it. They don't know what it is. But the evidence is right in front of them, so it's performed in a very credible way where they just accept this fantastic sci-fi element that is within them. And also the science fiction of it is not just dumped on the side as just a sort of a decoration for it or whatever, as a lot of so-called sci-fi entertainment will do. And just, kind of build up on the drama of it and whatnot and try to wing it on that. But no, the concepts are explored here, and the questions are asked about how how does something begin? Because there's all these elements of how the time travel even happens, where it's something that happens in the distant future, but it affects things in the distant past, and, and of course it would do that. But to explore that and explain it and how the convoluted things that can happen as a result, and what a mess it all was. And the main character, the young version of him, there are now apparently, and I say apparently, 3 versions of him now. We met 2 of them in the first season. Now there's a third one who is being posited as basically the main villain this time around, that he becomes the villain, like Anakin becomes Darth Vader. Well, anyway, Jonas here longs to go back to the life he had, the simple life of a teenager on the verge of graduating, or maybe he already has. I can't remember what the age is supposed to be here. But, and then at the same time, he understands that if he wanted to prevent what happened with his father and everything, he would never exist. And so there's back, but in the end, he wants to go back to the way he wishes he didn't know any of this, and he could just be with his girlfriend, and everything's fine. But the thing of it is, it had already begun before he was born. Or did it? It began and then it started afterward. There's no language. And that's always the main problem with time travel. There's no language to make it work. So that's the mess he's in. But boy, oh boy, the production quality is great. And the last season, it ended on this cliffhanger of he travels to an even more future time, it appeared, where it's this apocalyptic landscape, and something really horrible has happened. So with an ending like that, I thought, oh, are they going to have him in this? They're going to make a complete departure from the previous way that the show was set up into this future war type thing. And no, they didn't do that. And plus, they probably didn't have the budget for it anyway. But that's not what they wanted to do. And no, it's very similar in keeping with the structure of the series and to its benefit. And so I probably have spoiled some things already. So I guess, damn, how do I explain all this? But you do see the landscape. It plays a very important role in the story going forward. And there's all these problems that time travel presents and the paradoxes and whatnot. There is yet another paradox that you probably didn't see coming. That's, oh boy, I tell you. People getting together and having kids while time traveling. Oh boy, that could be a problem. So yeah, there's another big revelation in this series for that. And they do it so very well, and I can't recommend it enough. But so the question of the paradoxes is pursued, and the one thing that kept sticking into my mind was, well, one solution these people who theorize about time travel and stuff, was the alternate timeline business. Like when you change something in the past, you create an alternate timeline. So the original timeline continues on, like, you know, Kennedy didn't die. So you go back and you save Kennedy. And so this is new timeline where he didn't die in Dallas. But the original timeline where he did, the one we know, continues on. But there's this other one that creates a whole other timeline where events are now different because he lived, and one thing leads to another, and so something's very different. Who knows what would happen beyond that? And of course, you know, butterfly effect and all that. So but I didn't know that they were going to address that or not, and it seemed pretty obvious that they would at this point with the discussion of time travel. I think that comes up quite a bit. And lo and behold, yes, they do. And that is your cliffhanger, I do believe. And so, so even when it seems like, oh, well, it's kind of a somber and, no pun intended, dark soap opera at times, there's still quite a bit of excitement that happens here. And just another part of the time travel always tends to be a tragedy, and where people are doomed from the start and absolutely helpless. And of course, the characters are saying, "No, I got the answer. I'm going to fix it this time." And they go, "Will you? Will you?" And but there's, you know, doomed from the start in the sense that I'm going to prevent this terrible thing from happening, and in doing so, you make it happen. And that's a common theme in time travel stories, and this is no different. But of course, the performances and the production and the means by which they deliver it, it's just so rich and raw that you should find yourself quite satisfied with it. So yes, Dark on Netflix. This is a German program. But boy, and I guess that's what we got to do. We got to look for stuff from overseas now, because, man, a lot of things just not delivering over here these days. But there were a lot of comparisons to Stranger Things to some extent, but this is leaps and bounds better than Stranger Things. It's quite the achievement, and so now. I burned through those episodes, and now I want the story, and I don't know when they're going to do another one. But boy, did they just open up a whole other bunch of questions here. And another season is absolutely necessary. Another thing they do very well, they do cast people, not always, but quite a bit of people who, when you're playing younger and older versions of the same character. And man, it's quite believable in quite a few. And even with children of people, they do look like they could have been the children of these actors and whatnot. So all very good. Can't praise it enough. So do check it out when you got the chance. You won't be disappointed. And so there you go. Netflix's Dark. Thank you for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe? And for those of you who have subscribed, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And while you're here, well, check out that link description below. That'll take you to my mini stores that have plenty of goodies for you. Yes, that's right. You.